Hey everyone, so I wanted to come on here and share my free birthing story with you guys. It was such an amazing day. It was such an amazing day and a day of letting go. And I wanted to really make this video so that everything is fresh in my mind, because literally the day after, it hasn't even been a full 12 hours since the baby has been born. For the past month and a half, I've been having prodromal labor, or what some people might call pre-contractions, or some people might call them false labor contractions or whatever. So I've been experiencing that for a month and a half, maybe even 2 months, for a very, very long time in the ending of my third trimester. This is kind of like a normal part of my day, going through those contractions, feeling my uterus kind of tighten up, but it was nothing serious. So on September 29th, I started to feel more intense contractions that kind of made my breath feel like, wow, I need to slow down and really hone in on this feeling right quick, because this is starting to feel like something very familiar to me. So, yeah, that was on September 29th. And I just want to key in here too, that my husband really was also predicting with me when the baby would possibly be born, because of the full moon, the last full moon that we're going to experience for 2023. And that has an influence over women's bodies, especially birthing, the tides of the ocean, and menstrual cycles. So he was really feeling like the baby was going to come on the day of the full moon. So the full moon was supposed to be on, I believe, the 29th, which was the Saturday. My son had to go to his cousin's birthday party. So I had already known, I had already let them know, I'm not going to be able to make it to that, because I probably will be going into labor on that day. Something just kind of clicked in me, and I felt like that's what would be happening for me. But I was just joking with my sister, telling her I'm probably not going to be able to make it to that birthday party. But I'll make sure that my son makes it. So my son and my husband left to go get ready to go to the party. I think maybe around 11 or something like that. They left pretty early. So it was just me and my youngest son home for some time, pretty much all the daylight hours, from maybe 12, or I guess 11, to maybe 4:30-ish. So me and him was really just enjoying our day together, doing activities and stuff like that. I cooked. I wanted to make some muffins with him, but boy, we did not get to make any muffins together. Me and him loved baking things together. So, around at 12, I started to feel contractions that felt very reminiscent to the contractions that I felt with my oldest son's birth. He was a anterior baby, so I felt a lot of my contractions in the front part of my uterus, as with this third pregnancy. My second pregnancy was a posterior baby, so I've had all back labor, and it was very intensive and a long time. Okay, so at 12 p.m. I was feeling a lot of contractions, and I started timing them, but I was also not gonna let it take over my day. So I still fed my cats. My cats were going, I feel like they're sick, so I had to make them some food from scratch. And I think that's what I'm going to continue to do with them, because it seems like a big money saver. So I made them some fresh chicken and some fresh rice and kale in my Instapot, and I fed them, and I let my son watch Baby Kareed, and all while I'm doing all this stuff, I'm going through these contractions. But they're not super close together. They're pretty far apart, but I can still operate throughout my day. And I didn't feel the need to call OL and tell him, hey, you need to come home or anything like that. So me and Ani, my second son, was still enjoying our day together and stuff like that. So I had cut on NTD News, And that was probably around like 3. And me and him were eating I had made some eggs in a pan, some fried eggs. And me and him were watching the news. And around that time, the contractions were kind of getting more intense to where I really needed to lay down. But I didn't lay down yet. It took me, I had some other chores to do with the cats. So after dealing with them, then I knew that I really needed to go lay down. And that was probably around like 3:30, 3:45. The contractions became more intense and I started counting them more. Earlier in the day, they were sporadic. They were not in a uniform manner, so it just made me feel like, well, I'm just going off of like what has happened last time, and I would say that my son's births were pretty stubborn. Like they went to like 42 and 43 weeks, whereas with this birth I went to 40 weeks. I was 40 weeks and 5 days, whereas with my other births I was 42 weeks and 43 weeks. So I thought that I had more time, and I just thought that maybe my body was just, I'm not really in labor, but we'll see, So I think like 45 minutes later, it really clicked to me that no, I believe that I'm going to have a baby within the next several hours or maybe the next day. So I ended up calling OL when he was at the party and letting him know, like, hey, I really need some help, and maybe you guys can come back home in like 2 hours or an hour and 30 minutes because I need help for you to watch my other son because he's a toddler. I had called him and he was like, okay. So he's thinking that he has some more time. So I think maybe like 20 minutes or less goes by and I go to the bathroom and I'm seeing like pink in my panty liner, seeing like a little dab of pink. So I sent him a picture of that and told him my bloody show is probably about to come out. So, you can make your way back home. Because from experience, usually whenever that happens, I'm probably going to give birth within the next several hours or the next day possibly or something like that. And we just have to get things ready. Because he had to prepare the water birth because that's what we were planning to have. All that stuff had to be set up. And my whole strategy for this laboring was to do very heavily centered hypnobirthing techniques and the Bradley method, which is to relax and kind of go through your surges, laying down on your side with a pillow propped up under your leg, and also mixing in with that the hypnobirthing technique of listening to my meditation that I've been listening to for since my second trimester, positive affirmations for birth and how to breathe. So I was using the hypnobirthing breathing techniques. I had bought these birthing combs that I had showed you guys in my last video to kind of distract me from my surges and stuff. And that was basically the techniques that I was using to labor, and it got to a point where it was very, very intense and I knew that he needed to come back now. So I called him. And also my mucus plug had came out, so I sent him a picture of that and told him that he needs to return. So he knew, so he came right back home and started to set everything up for me. But at that point, I had already kind of found a little groove of being in the bed and having my leg propped up and listening to my meditation. And I was kind of going in and out of contractions. I was kind of going in and out from taking a nap in between them. From around 4 to 6, I was in my bed laboring, and I was in my bed laboring with my meditation music and my birthing combs and just going through the waves in my bed. Around 6, I felt like, okay, let me get up and get on my yoga ball to maybe see if I can engage the baby more. Because when I was laying down on my side, I kind of felt like I was feeling around for her head. I wasn't feeling that hardness. that I normally might feel when I'm like standing up or sitting on the yoga ball or even doing a left side lying position. So I felt like I needed to get up and sit down on the yoga ball. And also I was watching some of Legacy Birth, her most popular video on there with her doing her birth, and she was super happy, and it was just very inspirational to see that energy. So I just wanted to bask in that lovely energy of happiness and oxytocin while birthing, so I could rub off on me. And around this time, I think after I was on the yoga ball for some time, I think I might have went to go take a shower. I took a shower at some point between 4 and 6, because I was really, really, really sweaty, and I was feeling like I was smelling, and I really wanted to bathe and take a shower. So I did that, and that was really nice for the contractions and stuff, like having that shower water beat down on my stomach, and it really made my uterus feel amazing. Then I came back in here, and I think I got back on the yoga ball again. I was on the yoga ball for maybe like an hour or less. I was probably on the yoga ball for an hour or less, really trying to do some hip circles and just experience my contractions on the yoga ball. And I will tell you, they were way more intense than when I was laying down. I really felt like I'd rather lay down. So I had this one contraction on the yoga ball that really kicked my behind. That really, really kicked my behind. I really felt like, oh no, if these contractions are about to be feeling like this, I need to be laying down in that bed, visualizing, meditating, and telling myself that I can do this, and squeezing my combs and stuff like that. So I got back in the bed. So that was probably around like 6:30 or something like that. So from 7 to 10, now I'm going to give you guys the from 7 to 10 bracket of time. I think at this point, OL has already set up the birthing pool and put water in it. And he was dealing with the kids, and my mom was here too. He was out there doing some stuff and helping me get some things prepared. So at some point he came in here to be with me, and me and him was just talking and having like some lighthearted moments in here, laughing and stuff. At this point, the contractions were still, in my opinion, looking at this app, they were pretty sporadic, but they were lasting averagely for like a minute. And I can see that. They were averaging for about a minute, but the time in which I was feeling them was maybe like every 4 minutes, it was still sporadic. These things say 4 minutes, 1 minute, 7. It was still pretty sporadic, but it was something that I could still anticipate, and I knew that my labor wasn't slowing down. I've never had a problem with stalled labor. I was now kind of getting a little, because I was getting very sweaty, and I kind of wanted to change positions. So I would try getting back on the yoga ball and sitting down for some time. But then I really just realized I don't want to do that anymore. So I got back in the bed, and OL helped me get into the bed. And at this point, I think he might have been getting a little sleepy, if I'm not mistaken. I know he had gotten to a point where he wanted to take a little nap in the bed with me. But I was still going through the waves, and it was very, very intense. Like, very intense, and feeling very familiar to my first birth. My first birth was, like I said, my son was anterior, and I was feeling the contractions more in the front of my uterus, not necessarily in the back, and having that really, really dreaded back labor that, if you know what I'm talking about, you know that it is something different from a regular birth where your baby is anterior. So that is what I was feeling. And even though I was going through that very, very powerful sensation, I was really thinking like, well, okay, I know my body is not going to force me to go through this. It's going to give me a break. So I'm really, really waiting for that break. Let me just breathe through this contraction. And I had a hot water bag, like a rubber hot water bag for my back, because that, even though I wasn't having back labor, it still was very soothing to me to have that warmth there. So I would alternate it from the front to the back while I was laying down. So now let's do from 11 to 1. Okay, let's now talk about from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. So that would be September 30th, which was a Saturday, going into October 1st, which is a Sunday. Wow, this is where it really gets like super crazy. So, and by the way, also, like, my mom was here and she's coming in the room asking, like, are you guys gonna call the midwives? Because she thinks that we have like midwives. You know, I didn't feel comfortable telling her yet that we were doing free birthing or unassisted birthing. You know, so I'm just telling her, like, this is the beginning of everything, so I'm not calling them. She's like, you're gonna call them so they could check you, see how many centimeters you are? You know, so that was just kind of like throwing me off a little bit of my game. 11 to 1. At this point, my contractions were getting way more intense, and I think around 12 I stopped counting them, because I kind of just felt like, I know I'm about to have a baby in the AM at some point. Now I don't know exactly when, because I was a little bit in denial about how fast my contractions were happening, but I was still able to kind of lay there and deal with them. So that is what I was doing. I pretty much laid in the bed. I didn't get up again until maybe around like 1. I did not get up and change positions until like 1. So basically you can understand from 11 to probably like 12:45, I was in bed laboring with my leg up on my left side with the hot water bag. And something inside of me was saying, you just need to get up and be on all fours. Maybe you'll get some relief and it'll be a change of pace. And that really was a game changer for me. I mean, I love laboring on my side, but also I was looking for a change of pace. So I got up and did that. OL was going to help me get up. I told him it's okay, I don't need any help. So I had like a bunch of pillows propped up where my arms would be at, so I can get into a nice little tabletop position. So I was able to rest what felt like, and I know when you're in labor land, it is not, you don't understand time, but to me it felt like I could have relaxed like that for a long time. It felt like I was relaxing in that tabletop position with no contraction for a while, and I just felt so good. I felt like I took a little nap. And then, and I didn't realize what my body was really doing, because my body was now getting me ready to actually have my baby, and it was letting me rest before I actually went in to have my baby. But I didn't realize that. I'm thinking, oh, I got time to get in the tub, you know. Actually, so OL had left the room to go do something. I don't really know what he left the room to go do. I know he was in the bathroom doing something. And I was going to tell him, like, okay, we can get in the tub now. Because, you know, I'm thinking, like, the contractions are feeling more intense and maybe I won't slow them down by getting in the water. Boy, was I wrong. Okay. I did not have much more time left. So my body was letting me rest, because now looking back on it, I was about to give birth. So I'm in a hands and knees position, and OL's out of the room, and I'm feeling my body completely take over me. Like, I'm no longer in the driver's seat. I'm about to experience this fetal ejection reflex, which I've never experienced in my life. I've always had coach pushing, because I've always had a midwife there to tell me what to do. So this was my dream, to have a fetal ejection reflex moment. It was my dream, and I never knew what it felt like. So I had no clue what this feeling was. I had felt it come over my body one time when I was in the tabletop position. I was like, whoa. I didn't know what it was. So it went away because it was to me like a part of a contraction. So then it came back again, and I started feeling what would be considered the ring of fire uncontrollably. But I felt like, oh my gosh, I don't want to tear. Let me relax and calm down. I started breathing. I started doing the downward breathing from the hypnobirthing that I learned. So I started doing that, and then the contraction kind of went away, and then it came back again, and this time now my baby started crowning, and that's when I yelled out to OL. I said, OL. So he runs back in the room, and from what he says, he's seen the head. He looked and seen the head, so he immediately thought, oh my goodness, I need to catch the baby, so I'm gonna go wash my hands and come right back. And between the time of him going to wash his hands and come back, the baby had been born already. The baby had came out already, and I had tried to catch her with my hand, but she kind of slipped out of my hand, and she landed on the bed. So it was so crazy because I had a dream that that's how my baby was going to be born. So I was astonished at how my body did that. I was astonished. And when she came out, I had low light in here. So I think it was dark in my room, and I had the light from the kitchen, and my door was open. So I picked her up, and OL was there, and you could hear the baby crying, and my mom is at the door. Oh my goodness, baby, this baby is here and all that. And, I took a little look between the legs, and I was like, oh, it's a boy. But unbeknownst to me, I was wrong. I don't even know. I was so out of it, and I really just believed that I was having a boy. After this point, it gets a little odd, energetically speaking, because my placenta was very slow to come out, and it was making my mom worry. And I wasn't worried about it. I know OL was feeling concerned, but I wasn't worried about it because I could actually go pee, and I was still having contractions. And to me and him were just looking up different remedies, like herbs that I could take to help expel the placenta. And we tried massaging my stomach, and for 6 hours nothing worked. We wanted to have a 6-hour lotus birth experience. We only got to do 4 hours of that because my cord was pretty short, and I was having a hard time navigating, doing stuff, trying to get the placenta out with having the baby attached. So after 4 hours, we had cut the cord. And at this point, I was kind of getting pretty desperate because the herbs that I was using, like the red raspberry to bring down the placenta, wasn't working. Motherwort wasn't working, and my natural contractions wasn't working. Me breastfeeding the baby wasn't working to bring down the placenta, and neither was the firm massaging. I had this immediate remembering thought of this lady that I listened to on numerous podcasts. It was different women who were talking about how they had a delayed placenta, and they did a yoni steam, and it literally just detached from the wall and came right out. So I said, oh, well, wait, let's do a yoni steam. So then he prepared my herbs and my sitz bath for me to sit down and do that. And, it was very relaxing. It was super hot. Oh my gosh. It was super hot, and I was having contractions while on the freaking yoni steam. So it was very difficult to sit in that little basin thing on the toilet. Freaking butt cheeks were getting in the water, so it was very hot, and also going through a contraction. So we were just sitting in the dark, and OL started to massage my uterus. and I could feel something kind of detach and feel like it's about to come out of my vagina. I was like, whoa, oh, I'll keep doing this, working, it's gonna come out. So then it started to come out, and the whole freaking placenta came out. So it was really amazing. So after 6 hours, it finally came out, and I just had to do a yoni steam. And I was really feeling kind of regretful. I was like, wow, I wish I could have remembered that before we cut the cord, so that we could have gotten those 6 hours in that we had wanted to, with the cord still attached. But it was a situation where we weren't. I was telling them, you know, sometimes when you're still and not thinking of a bunch of different ways to get something done, that's when the knowledge that you previously had uploaded will, you know, surface. And that's what ended up happening. We had a moment to ourselves, and I'll never remember that. So it was very extraordinary. It felt really good to just not feel rushed and to just go through the birthing process on my own terms and on our own terms as a family, versus somebody coming into our space that is a stranger and kind of trying to tell us what to do and interrupting my relaxation. So it was really an amazing feeling. I did not bleed after giving birth to the baby. Obviously I had blood when the placenta came out, but when the actual birth happened, there was no blood. I didn't hemorrhage or anything like that. I didn't tear. That is the biggest thing about this fetal ejection reflex. My vagina feels amazing. I don't, like, literally my vagina does not feel like if I just had a baby at all. I am shocked and a believer, okay? I am shocked and a believer, and it just really made me feel so liberated, and I was really able to, I think we were able to really get the type of birth that we wanted, because like I said, I don't know if I ever said on this channel, but my husband is the one who brought the whole unassisted free birthing idea to me in the first place. At the time, he didn't know what it was called. It's just something that he wanted to do. I didn't even know what the heck it was called. But I just feel so amazed and happy about the situation and how everything went. I've never had fetal ejection reflex, and it was just amazing. Amazing. The ring of fire wasn't that bad like how it was all the other times. I didn't tear. The other 2 times, first time I had an episiotomy, second time I did tear. Both times I had someone coaching me on pushing and straining my freaking life away, you know. So yeah, I don't think I'm missing anything else. The last thing I guess I could say is I went and thought that I could wash all of my toddler's old baby clothes that are blue and a bunch of boy clothes. I also bought some new gender neutral clothes. I just really thought I was having a boy, and now all that stuff is pretty much unusable, all those boy clothes. So I have a beautiful, precious little girl. So I am completely overjoyed. Completely overjoyed. So thank you guys so much for listening to my story and my free birthing experience. Probably should have said this at the beginning of the video. This video isn't intended in any way to try and coerce anyone else to do a free birth. It's just my experience. So yeah, I really, really am so happy. And thank you guys so much for watching my video. And I will be bringing out more content, mother-related blogs and such. Bye.